Says we're live. I'm going to assume we are live. I see my microphone testing. Very good. And then it looks like there should be a little bit of background music. So, yeah, I think we're live. I think we're good, guys. Let me know how everything looks and sounds. Notice how this week I have branded the Monday night stream as a Q&A. Usually it's a podcast, but just me tonight. But this time I'm prepared for it to be just me tonight. Totally fine. Brandon will come back. Brandon has just had recently moved and has a lot of things going on in terms of setup. Myself too, but you know, this is what I do. This is my priority. So, yeah, it's all fine. And I'm like looking at the camera angle. It's fine. Yeah. It's not a big deal. Okay. So, am I center? Not really. No, I'm not. No, I'm not. It's okay. Alright, normally I actually have this on this side, so that's kind of throwing me off. There we go. Alright, cool. Cool. So, looking at the chat here, I see Nate Escuega has been a member for 14 months of Legends Plus, a member here on the channel. And Nate says, keep winning, Andres. Thank you very much for staying a member all this time. Just so people know, as a member, you get featured as credits in all of my videos. You can suggest topics for the podcast. If you're looking for advice through Patreon or YouTube membership, I will offer that to you. And you're also eligible for call-in segments as well. You can jump in and be part of the show. But thank you very much, Nate. Super appreciate it. I will do my best to keep winning. I will point out that I've started talking about how we have this goal to hit 25,000 subscribers by the time Tears of the Kingdom comes. I normally don't do subscriber campaigns because I don't want to encourage people to subscribe just because, or do like the like the giveaways, because a lot of people do giveaways, and what I've noticed is that you'll see a lot of people who don't actually care about watching the channel, but they'll subscribe, won't actually watch, and they'll just be praying that they win the giveaway. And that only benefits one person who may not even actually care about the channel. So I don't usually do giveaways like that and like subscriber campaigns. I do want to do like some sort of something if we do hit 25,000. So I'm just telling people, hey, look, we're aiming for 25,000. And if you like my content, please subscribe. That's it. That's all I'm doing, and that's the plan. But I do want to have some sort of celebration or something that you guys will think will be fun if I do hit that goal come May 12th when Tears of the Kingdom comes out. Maybe it'll be as simple as like a 12-hour stream of Tears of the Kingdom. Just straight 12 hours, sit down, there we go. Maybe that's what it'll be. Maybe it'll be something else. You guys let me know what you think will be like the most fun, but that is the goal, that is the effort. So if you haven't subscribed and you do enjoy my content, please subscribe and also hit the notification bell. But yeah, that's the general plan. Yeah, actually, on the note of members, Garish Zod has also joined as a member of Legends. Thank you for joining. Welcome as a member. It is super appreciated. And if you have any questions or anything, just shoot. Just let me know. But now let's check in with the chat. Let's see how you guys are doing. Charles Trudell, hello. Yes, thank you for going on the other day. If I need any help, I will let you know. I will let you know. Thank you. Garzad, hello there. JLo, hello. Giancarlo says, Switch successor will release at the end of this year or at latest holiday 2024. Nintendo can't fool us. I do feel like that's the window we're looking at here. Holiday 2023 through holiday 2024. Holiday 2023 is like the earliest we see it, and holiday 2024 is the latest we see it. I know some of you have talked about 2025 and 2026. I really don't think we're going to have to wait that long. No, I really don't think that's what's going to happen. Consider that Switch came out March 2017. This is we're now what? This is April, right? No, March. March. March 2023. So it's been 6 years. We are currently in the beginning of the 7th year of Switch. Nintendo consoles have never lasted this long. That said, this is also a unique situation because the Switch is a hybrid console. It's combined Nintendo's handheld and console and home console divisions into one. It's all in one place, and we've never seen this much momentum at this late of a stage in a system's life cycle before for Nintendo. So it's all unprecedented, uncharted territory, and yeah, it's gonna be kind of hard to guess how Nintendo is going to handle things. So I guess I can see where some people might be coming from with suggesting maybe 2025 or 2026, especially when you consider Nintendo has told us in the past that they want to do a 7 to 10 year plan for Switch, not straight up 10 years, but potentially 10. So I see where some may be coming from with that, but you got to keep in mind, they're not going to just release a new system and then all of a sudden Switch dies and that's it. It's over. Switch is done. No games, no support. It's cut dry. That's it. No, it's going to be a few years of transition. So with that in mind, we are now entering the 7th year. If they're going to have Switch relevant for 10 years, they're going to need to have 2 to 3 years to transition over to their next big system. So when you think about it in that way, we are in that range now. So when Switch 2 or whatever it's called comes out, Nintendo's going to have this window where there's going to be some cross-generational games. There's going to be, eShop support and accounts transferring over, and games are still going to come out for Switch for a while. But over time, as people slowly transition over after 2 to 3 years, then they'll start to put more and more of a focus on Switch 2. But Switch is still going to be a focus for a few years. So for those who aren't ready to move on to a new system this year or next year, don't worry. Nintendo's going to support the Switch for years to come, but they will start to transition, and that's the point. So I do think that we are in that range, and 2025 just seems too late, especially because we technically have already gotten a leak of what probably is the next Switch hardware, the Tegra 239. So yeah, and also we had news that's suggesting maybe that the Switch 2 has already entered production as of last year. So I don't think we're that far off. Also, historically speaking, even if Nintendo doesn't launch a new Zelda with a new system, the release of a new Zelda marks the end of a current system and the beginning of a new one. So, for example, Majora's Mask came out in the year 2000, GameCube released 2001. Twilight Princess was a cross-gen title for Wii and GameCube 2006. Skyward Sword came out 2011, Wii U came out 2012. Breath of the Wild was a swan song for Wii U and also a launch title for Switch. Now we have Tears of the Kingdom, and I think, even though they've been extremely quiet about this game, I don't see a scenario where they announce Switch 2 for Tears of the Kingdom this May. Wouldn't that be a complete shocker that no one would believe, right? Like at one point I thought, yeah, maybe, but not anymore because of how close we are. That doesn't seem really even possible at this point. But point is, with Tears of the Kingdom releasing, it does mark the end of a generation. At least that's how history has shown it. So that would suggest that we're about a year away at most, at least based off how Zelda games have been treated when it comes to the end of a system's life cycle. So that's another point to consider there. Never mind the literal leak of the chip that's going to be in the next Switch. Never mind the Pokemon leak that suggested it'll be out as potentially early as this holiday. Like those are other things to consider. Like so the point is there's things suggesting it, but yes. Anyways, point is I agree. Window holiday 2023 to holiday 2024. That's the window. D'Amico, 25k bound. I hope that is the goal by May 12th. That is what we're shooting for. Guys, if you could like the stream, that'd be super appreciated. I see we got about 70-ish, 60-ish people watching, and we got 24 likes, which is a pretty good start. If we can get closer to that 60, that would be very helpful. Garrison, this has got to be the weirdest marketing cycle ever for any game. Yeah, and I assume you mean Tears of the Kingdom and not Advance Wars or Bayonetta Origins. Advance Wars is also strange, but I think that actually, it's very interesting now that I'm kind of thinking more on it. I feel that the marketing for Fire Emblem Engage that came out this January, for Metroid Prime and Kirby that came out this February, Bayonetta Origins is also strange. Advance Wars, no. Literally every game this first half of the year, I'm going to argue, is very strange, and especially Tears of the Kingdom. So hear me out here. Let's look at Fire Emblem Engage, perhaps the most normal one of the bunch. It's strange because this was a fairly significant release. When did we get news of it? Officially, last September. Came out January. That is one hell of a turnaround. And they didn't really give it much time. Normally we don't see major games like Fire Emblem Engage announced in a September Direct to release in January. That's an extremely quick turnaround. They didn't even have a game-specific Direct for it. Not that they have to, but they did one for Splatoon, they did one for Xenoblade, but not for Fire Emblem. And that is a little odd, but all that might suggest is, okay, Nintendo's having some quick turnaround games even when they're major. Sure. But Fire Emblem was rumored for an extremely long time. This game could have been popped out at any point. The suggestion is Nintendo's been sitting on a lot of games. Enter February. We get the Direct early February, as expected. And we already knew about Kirby. But Nintendo announces Prime Remaster in the Direct, shadow drops it, and then releases a physical version of the game days before Kirby. What? Why would... First off, that impacts Kirby sales. But secondly, there was no marketing for Prime Remaster, and I know most of you agree that Prime Remaster is as far as remasters go, a pretty darn ambitious one, and at $40. The price is unprecedented for Nintendo. Just in terms of... Oh, my cat just jumped and scared me. Hello there, buddy. Okay, now she's going for my water. It's mine. What are you doing? You're distracting me. I was talking about something. You probably saw her tail. Anyways, where was I? So, yeah. The Prime Remaster situation is also really strange. Because of how they shadow dropped that, because of how they didn't really advertise, because of the pricing. All of these are very unique scenarios, and also because not only did it impact itself with Prime, but also Kirby. Kirby didn't get its own time, which was odd. Because they go back to September, it looked like Nintendo cared more about Kirby than Metroid going back to September. But then all of a sudden Nintendo just spits out Metroid, which looks to be a better seller than Kirby because it was on the top of the sales charts for a longer period of time, and still now is above Kirby. So it's just odd how that entire scenario panned out. But then you look at March with Bayonetta Origins, a much smaller release. Its existence isn't a big deal, and I'm not upset that it exists, but I do find it odd that they released Bayonetta Origins, 4.5 months after the release for Bayonetta 3? Why? And it's kind of and they had a piece of this game inside Bayonetta 3. It's just an unusual thing to do, to have a spin-off come out so quickly after the main game. It's very odd. And now, in April, we're going to get Advance Wars, which initially was supposed to come out a year ago. But even when we go back to a year ago, it was delayed into that time slot, but then delayed again because of the war, which was understandable. And Nintendo could only wait so long. Now they're coming out this April, which, okay, it makes sense. But just the fact that it had to happen in that way, how they were so quiet about it. You look at other companies, they wouldn't have delayed their game that long just because of a war. It's very odd how Nintendo handled it. Considerate, but still different, unusual. That brings us to Tears of the Kingdom in May. This game is the most anticipated game, seemingly across all platforms from what I've seen, for 2023. It's a follow-up to the best-selling Zelda game of all time by an extreme margin. Breath of the Wild is around the 30 million mark. The closest other Zelda is like around like 8 with Twilight Princess. So there's a substantial jump there. And even though Tears of the Kingdom arguably could be suffering from sequelitis that would put it in a position to not have as good of sales as Breath of the Wild, even though it's coming out in the later part of the Switch's life cycle and not being used to push a new system as Nintendo usually does for Zelda, they're not really doing much to kind of get word out for Tears of the Kingdom. Like they are talking about it, but the amount of information we have about Tears of the Kingdom comparatively to how much we had for Breath of the Wild, there's a significant gap there. A very significant gap. We've gotten 2 teasers, a 7-second snippet from the delay, and 2 trailers. Now, we had several teasers for Breath of the Wild before the 2 significant trailers. And the 2 trailers we have for Tears of the Kingdom are one's 90 seconds long, and the other is about 2 minutes. Those both are far shorter than the 3 to 3.5 minute trailers we had for Breath of the Wild. And Breath of the Wild had a great plateau at E3 where there was hours upon hours of gameplay, and they showed us footage at the Game Awards for Breath of the Wild that showed a whole other section. Plus, there was other pieces of footage that showed like some areas outside of the Great Plateau as well. Like there was just so much more they showed for Breath of the Wild compared to how much we've seen for Tears of the Kingdom. And we knew more about Breath of the Wild months beforehand, like 6, 7, 8 months beforehand. We knew way more about Breath of the Wild than we do now know about Tears of the Kingdom less than 2 months out. And now we're hearing that apparently at PAX East, which I am going to, by the way, I will be there. So I don't know why I will be there, but I'm going to be there. Maybe networking, meeting other people, having a good time. It'll be fun, but I'm not going to be able to cover Tears of the Kingdom because apparently it's not going to be there. According to the Boston Herald, they got confirmation that Tears of the Kingdom will not be at PAX. So the speculation, there's that. Now, other bigger news outlets haven't picked up on it, so maybe there's some inaccuracy to that report. We'll see. Fingers crossed. I'm hoping that we still do get Tears of the Kingdom news around that time. We shall see. But it's just odd how Nintendo has handled Tears of the Kingdom, to your point. Like, it's very odd. They're just not talking about it. And I don't know why. I'm definitely going to play I'm an optimist. And I think there's reason to be optimistic because they spent more time on this game than any other. They had a foundation in place, so this worry that they might be running into issues with the physics or different things like that, like, it doesn't seem likely because they already had a foundation in place with Breath of the Wild. Like, they had those issues with Breath of the Wild, and that game still took less time than Tears of the Kingdom. Granted, COVID got in the way, but still, it's running, it's built off of Breath of the Wild. Like, they should have been able to get a lot more done with this, and I assume they have. And this is arguably the best team, like, development team in history, the Zelda team. They always come out with AAA gold. Like, they're always Game of the Year contender kind of games when they do release. So, to think that they somehow have messed up Tears of the Kingdom, and it's just not that good, that just seems like a really big stretch. Like, there's no history to suggest that that's what's going on here. Nintendo's just being weird. They're just being weird. I'd love to think there's some sort of crazy reveal they have, some sort of crazy thing that they're holding back on that's going to blow our minds. And I still think that's probably, I still think to some extent that will be the case. I think there are things that are hiding about Tears of the Kingdom. They're going to really rock our worlds. But do I feel confident that they're setting themselves up to have a more successful run with Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild? No, I think it almost feels like they're giving up on Tears of the Kingdom beating Breath of the Wild. It seems like they're almost okay with Tears of the Kingdom being less successful, which to me, why would you do that? Like, I'm going to, and I don't know that, right? During today the interview we saw, Doug Bowser was asked, like, what are the sales expectations for Tears of the Kingdom? He did not want to put out that information yet, and understandably. But I'm curious, what is it that Nintendo expects for Tears of the Kingdom? Are they just expecting to sell another 10 million? Or are they hoping that it can be something that can compare or surpass Breath of the Wild? I would think that you always want to outdo your previous effort. Like, sure, you don't always beat it, but you should at least try. So, and I'm not saying the Zelda team hasn't tried. They've put more time into this game than Breath of the Wild. So I think the Zelda team is probably trying. But what about Nintendo's marketing? And they've definitely made a lot of money. So why aren't they using that for Tears of the Kingdom? I don't know. And of course, we're still 2 months out. Nintendo has shown in this day and age that they can have far shorter announcement or release windows. Like they've proven that. But I'm skeptical, right? Like, we look at the Prime Remaster situation. Yes, it's done well on the Switch eShop, but we've only gotten word that it sold about 1 million, which seems great, but I feel like Prime Remaster should outdo Metroid Dread, and that doesn't seem like a guarantee right now. And if it doesn't, I would say that's because, well, one, you could argue because it's a remaster, sure, but for most people, it's effectively a new game. And visually, it's the best looking game on Switch. On Metacritic, it's one of the highest rated games throughout the entire Switch generation. Like, there's a lot of reasons to play Prime Remaster, and yet I'm not sure, right? Nintendo doesn't even put out a large supply for the game. Yeah, it's just weird how Nintendo's handling things. And maybe a lot of this has to do with their transition over to the next generation. How exactly? That I'm unsure of. But there's definitely a lot going on here that is unprecedented. Hello there, Samuel A. How are you? You are on time. I was not. I was gonna start the stream exactly at 8. I had to push it 8:15 because I forgot that today was spring forward. So I was actually eating and exercising in the living room while. So sometimes when I exercise, I'll exercise and I'll do a round of Mario Kart and then I'll exercise. Yeah, I was eating, exercising, playing Mario Kart, and I was looking at the oven clock thinking, oh, I got 3 hours before the show. We're good. And then, once everything was done, I was gonna take a shower. I was like, oh, I have less than an hour before the show. What happened to that whole other hour I had? Spring forward. So, yeah. Harry Myers, Andres Restarto. Thank you. Yeah. Let's see here. I think I had a super chat. Yes, Samuel A with the super chat. Thank you very much for the super chat, Samuel. Let's see here. Samuel says, Nintendo's weird behavior and erratic release schedule tells me they are trying to get everything out the door before they reveal Switch 2 in summer. Huh. I don't know. Like, maybe. But if Tears of the Kingdom is coming out May, like, why be quiet about Tears of the Kingdom? Like, I don't understand why they would do that. Now, is there thinking that they're going to release Tears of the Kingdom, basically treat it like any other game, which is how it feels, right? It feels like they're just treating it like a Bayonetta Origins, where, okay, we'll give you a trailer, we'll tell you a little bit about it, and then once it's a couple weeks away, we'll start tweeting more about it, and that's how it kind of feels. Like, okay, here's a couple trailers, enjoy. That's it. Like, there's no presentation. We haven't gotten like a big event where Aonuma comes out on stage and like tells us these things about the game. Like, there isn't like this big celebration for Tears of the Kingdom. They're not making it feel like a big event. And that's the part that bothers me. Because I'm okay with not being spoiled in the game. I want to go into Tears of the Kingdom and have tons of surprise for the game. Like, I'm all about that. I want to see so many new exciting things. The Breath of the Wild was amazing because he went to this giant, massive, wild world, and there was so much to discover and be afraid of and find and run from. Like, it was an amazing experience. I want that again for Tears of the Kingdom. And maybe that is the reason why. Maybe it's as simple as that. Maybe we're just looking at it differently because we saw how they handled Breath of the Wild, that we want more information. Maybe Nintendo's perspective this time around is it's not so much that they don't care about the success for Tears of the Kingdom. Maybe it's as simple as they care about Tears of the Kingdom so much, but they also care about the Zelda fans even more. Like, they want us to play this game and just be completely surprised with all the amazing new things they have to offer, and have hardly anything be spoiled about the game by release. Maybe that's their plan. If that's the case, cool. I'm cool. You know, like, I'm gonna enjoy the game. Regardless, I'm gonna get the game regardless. Even if the game comes out and it's only like an 8 out of 10, which would be shocking across the board, I would still get the game, and I'm still gonna enjoy the game. But, you know, even if Nintendo is kind of doing this thing where they barely talk about it, you know, and compared to, like, for example, I think Final Fantasy 16 is going to be at PAX, but, you know, like, when's Final Fantasy 16 coming out? Let me check that. Or is it already out? I'm so confused. Yeah, so it's coming out this summer. Final Fantasy 16 is going to be at PAX. It's coming out in June. Tears of the Kingdom is coming out in May, and it's not going to be at PAX. Just that just kind of goes to show you that Nintendo, Nintendo is being weird. They're not. This is a huge game, and you have this huge event, the last huge event. That it's like their last opportunity to have kind of like a demonstration publicly, and they're just, nope, we don't care. Now, they might have a private demonstration, you know, and they'll invite certain press, but yeah, point is, it is unusual. That is the main point. This is unusual, and while it may be all about trying to avoid spoilers and keeping us surprised, I think you're also impacting sales, because there's a lot of people who are not committed to Tears of the Kingdom yet because they play Breath of the Wild. This is set in the same world. You know, that can turn a lot of people off, and they've now risen the price to $70. So if you're going to raise the price and it's a sequel, what you should be focused on doing is, you would think at least, is to tell people why this is worth that extra money, why this is different from Breath of the Wild. Like, they should be working harder to do these things, and it seems like they're working less to do these things. So that's where it gets like a little bit more weird. Again, I still think Tears of the Kingdom is probably going to be maybe the best game to come out this year. I still think it has an opportunity to be a better game than Breath of the Wild, and I still think that there's an opportunity for Nintendo to have a blowout and market this game and surpass Breath of the Wild sales. I still think that's possible. How they're going to do that, it's going to be a little complicated. I think it's unlikely, but I still think it's possible. I would say it's plausible. So it's within reason, but it's going to be a challenge. And they're not making it easier. I say this as a fan who doesn't fully understand all the nuance of their marketing tactics. But let me check in with the chat here. I know, that was a long tangent. AB James, are you gonna stream Tears of the Kingdom at any point after release? So I was joking about this, kind of being serious about this, right? So the goal is to hit 25,000 subscribers by the time Tears of the Kingdom comes out May 12th. If we do that, I want to do something to kind of celebrate that event, that achievement, if we can do that. So I'm thinking, Samuel A, 25,000 subs for 25-hour stream, I will die. I think 12 hours is about as reasonable as I can be with that, right? Now, maybe I can do more than one 12-hour stream, right? But I think that maybe that'll be the goal. If I hit 20, we'll see. I'll put it to a poll. Maybe there's other. If you guys have suggestions for something you'd want me to do, I don't know. Like, and it doesn't have to be. It could be something simpler, like an ice bucket thing, or eat dubious food. I did do that once. If you guys have been on the channel for a while, at one time I put out a bet and I was wrong. So I made dubious food, like from Breath of the Wild, cake, but it made it like disgusting. Like with I had some friends help me out. and we put in like spices and peppermint and Worcestershire sauce, and it was very hard to eat, and I ate it, and there's a video of it. If you look up Andres Restart eating dubious food or something, you will see a video there of us making and eating, and it was bad. But you know, I did that because I lost the bet. So I'm willing to do something that's kind of weird or fun if that's something you guys like, you know, will find enjoyment out of. But I would like suggestions, or just a 12-hour stream, or maybe multiple 12-hour streams. That would be tough though, because it's gonna be a busy time. Also, yeah, I gotta make videos, you know. All right, looking through the chat here. Giancarlo, Nintendo could still support Switch when its successor in the market. Yes. When the Switch 2 comes out, Switch will still be about for a while. The guy you don't know, you like the setup? Good. I'm glad you enjoy it. There's still some little things I gotta tweak and do and maneuver. But this is mostly it. I had like another light that died here, and there's some lights we can put there, and I have to put more soundproofing on. But this will be the temporary set until a few months from now when I get a more permanent place. Shout out to Nintendo Prime. What's up, buddy? Let's see here. Let's see here. Okay. Is R3 Lite. As bad as I want a new Switch, I really want Nintendo to go for that console sales record. I'd be okay with a Game Boy to Game Boy Color type upgrade to keep pushing the Switch. And so the way I see the Switch scenario, like they're gonna still sell Switch, like whatever the next system is, Switch is still gonna sell for a little bit. It's gonna be out on the market. I think they're gonna drop the price of it. Games are still gonna come out for it. So I think Switch is gonna get close to that record, 100%. Let's see. I mean, by the time the Switch 2 say even comes out at the end of this year, like the Switch is already well past 120 million, right? Like maybe they're at 125 or 130, close to 130 by the time that Switch 2 comes out. They have a price drop. They're still selling Switches in this holiday. They're still doing that. And then they kind of push the system for another 2 to 3 years to get 20 million. They can totally do that with a price drop or two. Yeah, I see that happening. Even with a new next-gen system out. Even if it's not like a Game Boy Color-esque upgrade, more like a Game Boy Advance-esque upgrade, it'll be fine. Let's see here. Okay, I'm just looking through the chat. Joy CJ, Poolside Podcast will be a thing, right? So Joy CJ is joking because probably going to PAX. I mean, I bought my plane ticket and I have PAX tickets, so I guess I'm going. So me, Nintendo Prime, and Mike Odyssey are probably gonna do a podcast together, and we were joking about doing it at a pool, which I'd be down with. I would love to do a poolside podcast. I think that'd be awesome. So, I'm in full support of the poolside podcast. I mean, I wouldn't even be opposed to trying to do my own pools. I mean, I won't. The thing is, the podcast happens on Mondays, and I'm gonna leave on Tuesday or Wednesday, be back Sunday or Monday morning. So, like, the podcast is still gonna happen. But there will be I'll probably will still try and do a Thursday stream. So conceivably, we'll see. Although it'll depend on how Wi-Fi works. Because if we're out by a pool, I would need to bring a laptop, wouldn't you know, or a really long Ethernet cable, which I do have actually. I do have a pretty long Ethernet cable. Robert Powell, Tears of the Kingdom is likely not going to beat Breath of the Wild. Breath of the Wild is a 6 year and 30 million head start, to be honest. I think it will do well, but it won't beat Breath of the Wild. Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's likely that Tears of the Kingdom will beat Breath of the Wild, but I still think Nintendo should try. And when I say that, I don't think that they should have any reasonable expectation that they do it all in 1 year. But hypothetically, you know, let's say they push Tears of the Kingdom hard this year. They have a Zelda OLED come out. It's their big premiere game throughout this year. And even if the Switch 2 were to come out at the end, they have a graphics patch upgrade that gives you 4K visuals at 60 frames per second, maybe with ray tracing or something. Like, that would be, you know, super cool. And they do that. They have DLC, and they kind of push Tears of the Kingdom alongside this new system, so it continues to sell for years to come. It still maintains that evergreen status, selling on Switch 2 for years to come. They have a massive DLC. They have an expansion quest that pushes it for a while longer, and over time, maybe it could get close. Like, I do think that they have that opportunity. You know, I don't think that just because this is the end of the Switch generation that has to mean that Tears of the Kingdom can't continue to sell. I think that Nintendo has come out with games that you would expect to last for a while, like Splatoon 3, for example. And they're just putting out the Booster Course Pass now for Mario Kart, and it's getting all these updates. I think the idea is that these games are going to be relevant for years to come, even though they've been out for years. Well, the Switch has been out for years already. I think their plan is that when they come out with their next system, be it this year or next year or whenever, the games are still going to be playable. The games are still going to run. They're still going to be played and used. They're going to be relevant. There's still going to be a reason to buy Splatoon 3 in 2024. I almost said 2025, but I was debating, could they come out with Splatoon 4 by then? But they've promised a couple years of support, right? Like, they're going to be supporting Splatoon 3 in 2024. So, yeah, there will be reason to play Splatoon 3 next year. So, yeah. Tears of the Kingdom, I think Nintendo will push for years to come. And 6 years from now, maybe Tears of the Kingdom will be around 30 million. Maybe it'll be even higher. Maybe when there's a Zelda movie, you know, that comes out 3 or 4 years from now, that'll give it another boost. Like, these are possibilities. So we'll see what happens, but I don't think it's over. I just think Nintendo is currently not showing great signs that it will, but jury's still out, you know. We'll see what Nintendo has to show for Tears of the Kingdom once everything's said and done, and we're gonna know for sure. I mean, it's all gonna be out there in less than 2 months, so we'll see. Rizky, you think without the pandemic, Switch wouldn't have even passed 80 million? I don't know about that. I mean, I think it may have sped some things up, but there was a little bit of a spike. But if you look at the pattern, it didn't cause it to sell another 40 million. It caused it to sell like maybe another 5 to 10 million or something. Like, it wasn't like they were already trending in that direction. They just kind of peaked a little bit quicker. Joycey J, Tears of the Kingdom could sell over 20 million in 6 years. I think it probably can. Hello there, stuffed at 864. James, will Wind Waker Twilight Princess ever come out? Yes. For what platform? I do not know. It's been said that these games have been done and Nintendo's simply sitting on them, which I 100% believe they're absolutely sitting on them. And in fact, I'll say that I think we're in a scenario where we're not going to see them for a little bit. So just be prepared for that. Maybe a couple of years. And I hope I'm wrong, just because, you know, it'd be cool to have them. But this year is going to be Tears of the Kingdom's focus. And then probably DLC afterwards. Now, is there a possibility that maybe they hold off on DLC because they want to have that come out when Switch 2 is more relevant if it's not coming out this year, and then they put out Twilight Princess Wind Waker HD maybe in the second half this year or early next year? That's a possibility. Yeah, so I'll throw that out there. But ultimately, what I'm thinking is that once Tears of the Kingdom comes out, given the trajectory of major Zelda games, how like the development cycles have gotten longer and longer, I do hope they find a way to kind of start trending in the opposite direction. But assuming they maintain this, we should be expecting another 6 to 7 years before we get the next major Zelda game, which to me sounds like a really bad thing. Like, I think that's bad. Like, from a business perspective, like, you have this series that can sell 30 million. Why are you taking 6 to 7 years per release? Now, part of that is that this is a high quality franchise. Like, every time there's a main installment, it's going to be a big deal. So, you know, there should definitely be long development cycles. But you would have thought that with Tears of the Kingdom being a direct sequel, they wouldn't have had the longest gap in Zelda history with it. The idea of doing a direct sequel should have been to speed up the cycle, not slow it down. Yet they slowed it down. Another weird situation here. Anyway, where was I? Kind of lost my train of thought. Right, Wind Waker, Twilight Princess. So the point is, we're looking at probably half a decade at least before the next new Zelda game. Like, so if we're talking about the beginning of a new generation of Switch 2 or whatever, if not the end of this year, sometime next year, Tears of the Kingdom's coming out now. By the time the next brand new ground-up Zelda is ready, we're going to be talking about Switch 3 already. Like, that's how long it's probably going to take. So how does Nintendo handle this? What do they do to bridge the gap? And it's gonna require several things. Yes, they could have some spin-off stuff. There could be 2D Zelda. Like, I think that helps. But in terms of like the 3D Zelda, they gotta do something else. Like, in terms of like the traditional 3D Zelda gameplay, like they need to do more than just not have that and just do 2D Zelda once or twice and some spin-offs. They've already remastered every HD Zelda once. So, I mean, every 3D Zelda once. So, they need to do something a little different. I do think that to help bridge this gap, it will include Wind Waker and Twilight Princess. I think probably these games will be at 60 frames per second in 4K. Like, they will enhance them somewhat for the next system at this point. Not saying they won't be available for Switch as well, but you know, I think they could still be 60 FPS on Switch, but they probably could be running upscaled to 4K, which wouldn't make that much of a difference because they wouldn't change too much in them. But, you know, yeah, so they would have those improvements. That'll come out. But then also DLC. They're going to have a longer DLC cycle for Tears of the Kingdom, I think. Maybe they have a massive adventure expansion that comes out a year and a half after its release. Then we talk about Wind Waker, Twilight Princess after that. You throw in a 2D Zelda somewhere in between there. And I'm also thinking that to help bridge the gap, and I've mentioned this a few times already, that they're going to not remaster, but do a proper remake. And when I say remake, I don't mean like a remaster. I mean a remake, almost like re-envisioning some elements of gameplay for Ocarina of Time. And I think that's kind of a bridge title to tide us over until the next brand new ground-up Zelda. That will probably be 5, 6, 7 years down the road from now. So yes, it probably needs to be a plan to kind of bridge that gap, and I think Wind Waker and Twilight Princess are a part of that. Electric Gigolo. I wouldn't upgrade to an OLED model, not even for Zelda, not while it's still $350. Their next gen system will likely drop in November at about $399 to $429. So you think that it is going to release this year? Interesting. I'm not saying you're wrong. I don't know. I think we'll see, but I'm definitely keeping my eyes peeled for it. Like, I kind of want it to come out this year, just so I'm biased, but I think the window is this holiday to holiday 2024. So it does make me skeptical of getting a Zelda OLED as well. And that's another interesting thing. We haven't even had a Zelda OLED announced yet. So does that happen? Do we get a Zelda OLED? Does that do? I mean, it's been leaked, right? There was an OLED leak. Like, we saw it, and we debated if it was real or not. But then we literally saw the same art and icons and symbols recently during the February Direct promotion stuff that was in the OLED. So the leaked OLED is real, but the question is, was it a prototype? Is it a final version? Will it come to market? It may not come to market. It may have been something they experimented with, and they will not announce it. There's still time to announce an OLED, though. We're not past that point yet. They could probably announce the OLED. I mean, with knowing Nintendo, they could announce the OLED 2 weeks before the release of Tears of the Kingdom, and it'll still work out. So, I don't know. But I will say that if they do not announce a Zelda OLED, if that prototype thing, if that leak ends up not coming out, then I'll say that pretty much, like, I expect it to happen. I expect Zelda OLED to come out. But if it doesn't, I will then go to 90+% likelihood that Switch 2 does come out this year. Because if you skip the Zelda OLED, that we've seen evidence that they've at least experimented with some sort of design, then that, to me, that says, okay, you're skipping out on Zelda OLED for your biggest game of the year. That says to me that you have a bigger system that's not that far off, and you don't want the Zelda OLED to come out to maybe kind of take away a little bit from that big release. So I am paying attention to that. I still expect Zelda OLED to come out this year, and if it does come out this year, that doesn't mean I think Switch 2 can't be coming out at the end. But if it doesn't, I think that pretty much means for sure that it is coming at the end of this year. So we'll see. There's still time, though. We still have like at least a month before they could, yeah, we have a month of time before they could maybe announce stuff like that. Giancarlo. Zelda Tears of the Kingdom doesn't need a huge marketing campaign to succeed. Breath of the Wild impact in the franchise made Tears of the Kingdom explode in sales. Like, yeah, so you have a point in that. I think it may just sell incredibly well regardless. I think there is something to that idea, and they may not need to have a huge marketing campaign until the last month. But the other weird thing is that, okay, sure, you want to have a blowout a month before release, do that. But poor Advance Wars, that's not going to get any spotlight. It'll get something, but it won't. It's going to get... People are just going to be paying attention to so much to Tears of the Kingdom around then. Eons. Breath of the Wild was a Wii U exclusive for most of its development, and it would be what let the next console get off the ground. Interesting to the about. Yeah. Stakes is high 84. They realize how much YouTubers promote their games since Breath of the Wild released. Look at how many Nintendo YouTubers we have now. Also, like you said, last time they were selling a console. It is a different situation. That is true. If Prime Remaster has sells over 3 million, then I think that the theory that Nintendo not talking about games and just dropping them with very short windows will be proven. But if Prime Remaster undersells Dread, then I'm gonna think that they could still probably perform better by marketing a little bit more ahead of time. Zach's Duelith ASMR. You think Tears of the Kingdom will for sure have a combat show-off Treehouse Direct in April, or probably a new trailer only? The thing is, I just don't know how Nintendo's handling things. Like, it looks like they're skipping packs. Looks like it, right? That's what's being reported. So it's just kind of tough to think. I gotta think, and I could be wrong, but I gotta think that there's gonna be some level of a demonstration for Tears of the Kingdom at the latest about a week after the release of the Mario movie. So basically about a month before the release of the game, I think there's got to be some type of major demonstration for Tears of the Kingdom. Maybe that's just a big overview trailer. It's like 4 to 5 minutes long. Maybe it's a Zelda Direct that basically is just some nice stuff around that. I mean, honestly, I want there to be a Tears of the Kingdom Direct, and I don't need it to be 20 to 30 minutes long. I'd be okay with like a 10-minute one that includes, like, 10 to 12 minutes. It includes like a big big trailer, like an overview trailer that tells us a lot about the game, like the beginning parts of the game, stuff like that. 4 to 5 minutes. But you know, Onuma comes out, talks about the game for about 2-ish minutes or so, and they also have an OLED trailer. You can fit that all into like a 10 to 12 minute direct, and it doesn't have to be a long direct. It just something, you know, something kind of like a Mario movie directs. Like, give me that. That's not as much as what they did for Breath of the Wild. They could still hold back a lot. You don't have to watch it if you don't want to be spoiled, but it will, you know, give us something. Like, I do want to see some gameplay. I don't need to watch 50 minutes of it or 2 hours of it. I will say that I went back at E3 2016 when they showed up Breath of the Wild. For like 2 days, I was just like sitting watching videos of Breath of the Wild all day. It was amazing. Brian Doe with a $5 super chat. Thank you very much, Brian. Brian says, everyone knows the Switch 2 is coming. Nintendo will have poor Switch OLED cells. My guess, Switch 2 announced August, September, releases October with Prime 4. Ooh, wow. October with Prime 4. Maybe. I think it's going to be a Mario game. I think Prime... I don't know about Prime 4. I think Prime 4 could come out soon, but I think it's going to be launch window. Not launch title. That's my take, at least. Yeah. Alright. Let me look through the chat here. I'm trying to keep with the chat. There's topics that I have planned for tonight. We're kind of touching on them, but I haven't like gone in on them specifically. I'm just kind of just been going through the chat. Giancarlo, you doing drama for too little. G. Tears of the Kingdom will be a masterpiece. You worrying for far too much. I mean, I've never denied that I think Tears of the Kingdom is going to be a masterpiece. I literally said I think it's going to be the best game this year. It's going to be a masterpiece. I think it has the potential to be better than Breath of the Wild. That doesn't mean that I agree with Nintendo's marketing tactics. And like I said, I'm not even saying that their marketing tactics are wrong. I'm saying I don't know. I'm saying it's just weird. It's odd how they're handling it. They've never given us a bad game, Giancarlo. No. You're right on that. Electric Gigolo. Problem I have with Tears of the Kingdom is it looks too similar to Breath of the Wild. It almost looks like a mod. I hope they show more soon. I hope there's huge dungeons. Yeah, you know, I think that like because we haven't had like a presentation that really details the game, we don't really know the systems in place truly. Like, if they had a Great Plateau like demo, they could answer a lot of questions for a lot of fans. Like, for example, is the weapon breaking system unchanged? People want to know. Is raining still a problem in terms of climbing? People want to know. Are there big dungeons? People want to know. What happens to Zelda? People want to know. Now, the Zelda thing, maybe that's something you have to find out by playing the game, but those other elements, those are big gameplay things, and I think that those are things that people will want to know before they get the game. So, you know, I think that there is need to have more information on this game, and they will give us more information. It's just a question of when. Okay, I got another super chat here from Taker610. Thank you very much for the super chat, Taker. Taker says, Zelda OLED revealed this week according to your vid. I doubt myself. I think I'm wrong on it, but maybe. Maybe. If I'm right, it would happen on a Wednesday. They would announce it this Wednesday. If I'm right. But I also kind of doubt it at this stage. But we'll see. It's got to happen on a Wednesday. And Nintendo wouldn't say anything other. If it's going to happen on Wednesday, the Zelda OLED reveal, Nintendo wouldn't, you know, they wouldn't give us any hints until it's announced. So maybe. Although I also can see a scenario where they wait until the beginning of April to announce it. So I think there's a 2 to 3 week window where they most likely will announce the OLED. I predicted March 15th. But we'll see. Let's see here. There are some chats I missed that I wanted to get to. All right, I'm going to focus on ads for now, just so I can kind of catch up with the chat a little bit. All right, yeah, okay, cool. Natsu, digging the background. I like the sound panel layout. Thank you. I'm glad you like it. Spheromancer, you should do a Tears of the Kingdom OLED giveaway. Definitely donate to the cause to give back to this community. Okay, I will keep that in mind. Maybe. I'm not opposed to it per se. I just don't want to use that to get people to follow me for those reasons. I'd rather give it to someone who actually cares about the community and the channel. Jesse, you saw the dubious food, right? Eons. Do you think the Switch will surpass the PS2 in sales? Switch was at 122 million as of December 31st, which is 36 million behind the PS2's 158. Was it really is the PS2 really at 158? Like when I Google, it's like around, it says like 150 something. 158 seems like a tough to pass. If Nintendo, I think that, you know, yeah, I do. I'm gonna go on a limb and say yes, because I think that Nintendo's gonna push Switch for at least 3 more years. Not by itself. It won't be the single game. It won't be the single system, but it'll push it for 3 more years with a price drop. I think it'll get there. I could be wrong on that, but I think it's going to get there. I think Nintendo wants to get there, so they're gonna push it. Zero Mantor. Switch is definitely going to beat PS2. It's just a matter of time. Could be a year, could be 3, but it'll do it. It'll still be selling into the Switch 2 cycle. Agreed. That we don't know. The collab the other day was so good to listen to. Which one? Was it when Mike Odyssey came to the podcast, or when I did the Metroid discussion with Rob, Joey, and Dave? I enjoyed both, so. JLo, pool pod. Yeah, we'll do it for the pool pod. You know, I actually could stream from my phone. Having hope, that's not impossible. Alright, moving through here. Zach still with ASMR. Do you think we'll for sure get Tears of the Kingdom showcase after the Mario movie, or just a trailer? I mean, I don't know, right? Like, I haven't been told anything. Like, I can't tell you with certainty either way. I think that based off how Nintendo handled Splatoon and Xenoblade, we should expect something major in April, if not this month. So, yeah. And Tears of the Kingdom's bigger than those games. There is more, I would argue, because it's bigger, I would say you talk about it more, not less. Some people might argue the other way around, but then if that's the case, why didn't we get a Bayonetta Origins Direct? Why aren't we going to get an Advanced Wars Direct? Why didn't we get a Fire Emblem Direct? So, you know, sometimes it's timing though, right? Because we had a Xenoblade Direct, but we didn't get a Fire Emblem Direct, and those series are about the same size. It also might be that with Fire Emblem, I mean, they could have done a Fire Emblem Direct. They could have. I think it was mostly just timing. I think they wanted to have some kind of presentation in the summer so they gave us a Xenoblade Direct. And also, because it was January, beginning of the year, there was reasons why, I think. And also, you could argue, depending on just the kind of new mechanics involved with each respective game, Xenoblade may have required more explanation than Fire Emblem did. Well, let's see here. Of course, the update makes that weird. Yes, I want to say A.B. James, the background music was Barania from Metroid Dread. Alexander Wu. There are so many other Zelda games that they could release even if Wind Waker and Twilight Princess were to release now. Yeah, I mean they have a lot of options. I'm just thinking strictly in terms of 3D Zeldas. But I just think there's something they could do. Gavin 4D, did I shower today? I did shower today. Shortly before the podcast. I shower every day. Anthony Smith, hello. Giancarlo, they already did a remake of Ocarina of Time on 3DS in 2011, followed in 2015 by a Majora's Mask remake on also on 3DS. Yes, but that doesn't mean they won't do a bigger, better remake later. Let me point out Xenoblade Chronicles. It came out on the new 3DS, and then they still did Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition later down the road. If there's any game that Nintendo's going to go back to, it is Ocarina of Time. Debus, I'd argue the Zelda OLED coming out along with the Mario Switch is Nintendo trying to move more base units to get rid of overstock before releasing the Switch 2. Yeah, I don't disagree with that. You know, the thing is, you know, you always can spin something one way or the other, right? From one perspective, if Nintendo announces Zelda OLED comes out with Tears of the Kingdom, a lot of people might buy that and then be like, oh, well, we bought a Zelda, bought a new OLED along with Tears of the Kingdom. Why are we gonna buy a Switch 2 6 months later? You know, I can see how that might not go over well. But on the flip side, I also think Nintendo has given us special editions before and still released new systems. So, actually, what I want to see if I can look up, is there like a site that has compiled special edition 3DS consoles, because that's probably the most recent example, and we could look at the dates for those with the games they released for and just see how they compare to the Switch launch. So let's see. There's not dates here. I need dates. Alright, so right now they just got colors. I'm looking for special editions late into the system's life cycle. Let's see. What would be a late... Well, the Charizard 3DS, that was 2012, so that's definitely way too... Here, I guess I'll show you this list so we can be looking at it together. Let me see. Give me a moment here. I think... Will this be the scene? Nope, that'll be nothing. Well, hold on. There we go. Yeah, that's it. Okay, so you guys can hear me? You guys can hear me, but you can't hear the desktop audio. You should now be able to hear the desktop audio too. Okay. Testing. Yeah, alright, cool. Alright, cool. So you guys should be able to hear and see. I'm just looking through like this Nintendo 3DS wiki. So they had so they had a Charizard 3DS. It came out back in 2014. A Smash Bros 3DS 2014. So the Switch came out in 2017. We gotta move down this list. Now it's just showing pictures. Okay, this was a fail. I thought I would get more. Or did they stop releasing special editions? There's no way they stopped releasing special editions at this point. There's gotta be more than that. Right? There's no way that was it. What if I search all 3DS editions? Because I think there was wasn't there like a Metroid Samus Returns 3DS or something? Oh, every Nintendo 3DS variant ever released. Maybe this will be the list I'm looking for. It's only giving me pictures though. I need dates, not pictures. It's only giving me pictures. That doesn't help me. Well, okay, 2016 was when Ultra Sun and Moon came out, right? So that's a pretty big game. Ultra Sun and Moon. Yeah, I'll come back to my camera. Was there a 3DS that came out for Ultra Sun and Moon? That's what I'm gonna look at right now. Ultra Sun and Moon 3DS, because I feel like that would be the closest comp to them coming out with the Zelda OLED now. Not ROM, Jesus. So there was a special edition 3DS for Ultra Sun and Moon, right? Or am I wrong? Or was that just for... Yeah, I don't see one. I can't find one. I see one that's for Sol Galeo and Lunala, but that could have been from Sun and Moon in 2016. No, but that would make sense though, yeah, because Ultra Sun and Moon came out 2017. Sun and Moon came out 2016. And then Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu, Eevee, and Eevee came out 2018. So yeah, alright, so there was a special edition Pokemon Sun and Moon that came out 2016 around the holidays. And Switch came out a few months later. So yeah, I mean, that's probably the closest comparison that I can think of. And for those of you that don't know what I'm talking about, I'm going to show you here in a second. This is it. Yeah. Alright, this is it. Right here. Wait, that doesn't tell us much. But yeah, that. So that was... This game came out in 2016. So... Yes, I live in Miami. That's not a secret. Alrighty. Going back to the chat here. Alright, cool. So, I mean, yeah. With that in mind, I would say they could technically announce a Zelda OLED comes out May. And then 6 months later, which is a longer gap than before, they could release a new system. There is one difference, though. That difference would be that people knew that a new Switch was coming early next year, when people were buying that Pokemon 3DS, and that is a key difference. Now, Nintendo could announce a new system around the time Tears of the Kingdom's coming out too. Like, that's possible. That could be another reason why Nintendo's being so quiet. It's possible that they're being really quiet because they're going to have an announcement event, and Tears of the Kingdom is going to be a big part of it. Even if it is coming out now, they may show off, hey, there's going to be a visual upgrade later down the road. But it doesn't seem like a good way to market Tears of the Kingdom. I don't know. It's strange. Maybe we just have to wait till next year. I'm not sure. Venatus712. So the other two special edition OLEDs were announced 2 months ahead of time, so it could be announced this week if they release it at all. Yeah, they announced them. You're about right. Let's see. I think I have. Did I put that? I had notes on this. Was it in this notebook though? Let's see here. Something tells me this is not the notebook. Oh, Wednesday, second week. I don't know what that is. Okay, so I written down dates here. So, looking here. So, Pikmin, not Pikmin. So for Splatoon 3, they announced it July 6th in the year 2022. It released August 26th, so 7 weeks later. 2 weeks before the release of the game, September 9th. So a 9-week total period, it looks like. And then for Pokemon, they announced the Pokemon OLED September 7th. 8 weeks later, it came out November 4th. 2 weeks before the game came out November 18th. So they had 9 and 10 week windows before those respective systems came out. So we're 2 months. We're already 8 weeks away, right? So the Splatoon one was 9 weeks before its release, and the Pokemon one was 10 weeks before its release. The game, not the OLEDs came out 2 weeks before the games came out. That's where it's a little weird. But we're now 8 weeks before the game. So my prediction that I put out for the March 15th, as Tigger brought up earlier, was that I predicted that they would announce it on a Wednesday, as they did for those, on March 15th, for it to come out on the same day as Tears of the Kingdom, May 12th, to launch alongside of it, just because they're having a shorter kind of window. But we'll see, because if they skip March 15th, if they don't announce it now, they're gonna have a far shorter. We're already looking at a far shorter window than how they handled Splatoon and Pokemon OLEDs. It may even suggest that they won't announce it, but yeah, so we'll see. March this Wednesday, we'll see. All right, moving on here. Ingrid McCleaver with the tip. Thank you for the tip. Super appreciate it, Ingrid. Thank you. Having Hope 5. When do you think we'll get a new trailer for Xenoblade Chronicles 3 DLC story? We need to know more about the story and a release date for it. I think you had asked me last stream, last week, and I saw it as I closed the stream out, and I put it in the chat. Excuse me. Anyway, June. The Nintendo Ninjas, they won't let me tell you. They won't let me tell you what I think. Alright, can you guys hear me? Uh-oh. Uh-oh. See, I didn't realize that there was a looping song thing. That should be fixed now. How bad was that? Hopefully it wasn't that bad. Anyways, yeah. So Xenoblade Chronicles 3 DLC, I think we'll get an update this June. Why this June? Because Tears of the Kingdom comes out May. There's no big games in June. I think there's a good chance we even get a direct in June, as we typically do from Nintendo. So I think this will be a good opportunity to announce that. Not to mention, come June, the only game we'll have officially announced, at least slated with the date, will be Pikmin 4 in July. I think that June would be a good time to make announcements for the summer stuff. Basically tide us over until September. So I think that's when we'll get the announcement. Even if they don't announce everything, I think they'll give us some announcements in June, just for the summer. And I think that may give us a better window for when we're going to see Wave 4. They'll give us an update then. they're gonna have to make some announcements around that time. Darcy, have you thought about putting the background music you use during your podcast and various videos in the description? The thought has crossed my mind, but I haven't really thought more on it than that. I'll tell you that I only have like, I have a few different like mixes that I've prepared beforehand for the podcast, and I haven't been any new ones lately, so I've been kind of reusing it the last like 5 or 6. I know I need to make more. I know. Could I tell you what? Yeah, because people always ask. So I could do that. It'll be a little bit more effort, but you know, I could do that. I just don't want to make any promises. All right, cool. All right, Joyce J. Adamy, hot take: leave Ocarina of Time alone. It's one of my favorites, but let's appreciate how groundbreaking it was. I remember it's time to move on. No more remakes. Okay. But Joyce J, let me throw this at you. What happens when Tears of the Kingdom comes out this May, and then 4 years from now there's no Zelda anything? It'll just be 2D Zeldas. 2D Zeldas and Muso games for 6 years? You want something in between. There's got to be something. I think a HD remake of Ocarina of Time would be really good. Maybe it's a remaster. Maybe it's another remaster just with better graphics and just a few more quality of life changes. Something. Thank you, guy you don't know, for confirming that there was a Metroid 3DS as well. So, but that was already after. That was, as you said, Charles. The Metroid one was already in the Switch year, so that one didn't count. I was thinking, the idea was to think of one in September. So, but we found one. We found the Pokemon one. They came out with frequency. I agree with you, Netweed09. Netweed says Prime 4 could come out on Switch 1, and it wouldn't even be that bad at all. Proven by Prime Remastered. I agree, 100%. I think it would still look and play great. Brian Doe with the super chat. Thank you very much for super chat, buddy. Brian says, stream freshly picked Tingle's Rosy Rupee Land, please. Maybe someday. Can't guarantee I'll do that anytime soon, but I could go back to some old weird Nintendo games. Is that what the Tingle game's called? I don't know what it's called, but I know there was a Tingle game for DS, right? Zelda's Geek Apprentice. What if they shall drop the Switch 2 with Tears of the Kingdom? It's crossed in like Breath of the Wild. There's like no way that'll happen, but you know, I'd be hyped, but there's no way. No way. All right, looks like I kind of caught up to the chat. I definitely had to skip a lot, but if you add me, I'm more likely to get to it. I do want to kind of talk about some things that I haven't really focused on yet. Guys, if you'd like the stream, I see you have about 60-ish likes, but about 120-ish people watching. So if more people could like the stream, that would be very appreciated. It helps out the show. More people will see the show. So please like it. Thank you. But yes, 10,000 news. I'm going to stay hydrated. Let's talk about some things. All right, so there's 4 topics I want to get to that we haven't really focused on yet. So let's get into the big one. The first one. That's about Nintendo Switch 2. Nintendo Switch 2, some people made videos saying that Nintendo Switch 2 is now in production, mass production. Some people even worded with Nintendo Prime used the wording mass production. I actually made the video before most people. Actually, I shouldn't take credit. Doctray81 is the one who made the discovery. I saw his video. I sourced him as part of my story, but there's a few other things I brought up in my videos, a few other sources. But I didn't want to call it a mass production just because it's just one of those things where there's a term. Comes from Albert Einstein. I think. Was it Albert Einstein? Anyways, it's probably not. I might be wrong on the person, but the quote is, extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. I think that's what the quote is. Yeah. That's what it is. I'm not sure who the person was. It might have been Albert Einstein, but I'm not 100% on that. Anyways, the reason I bring that up is because, you know, I put like the question marks and stuff because I didn't want to like go like all in on calling it a report, but the evidence is compelling. And so I just kind of talked about it. Maybe some news suggested we could see a Switch 2 in 2023, but basically the story is Doctray81, he was looking through LinkedIn profiles as he tends to do, and he finds good stuff there. He found that someone had finished their work with Siliconera last year, March 2022, where they are working on the Tegra 239 project. And we've got information suggesting that the Tegra 239 is the chip that will be in the Switch 2. This is all coming from the NVIDIA leak, and some NVIDIA people have basically confirmed this, that this chip, they confirmed the chip is real. So this chip, they finished work on it, this person, last year, March of 2022, from Siliconera, and Siliconera is responsible for taping out chips, which is the process that's done to the final step in the process before chips go into production. Hence the story you probably saw from some people saying Switch 2 in production. Yeah, that's the basic story. The implication is that they've already been manufacturing Switch 2 potentially as early as last year. Like this time last year, they could have potentially started. And if that's the case, then that strongly suggests that Switch 2 could 100% be out by the end of this year. Now, we don't know for a fact that they started production then. You know, there's room for misinterpretation, but I do think it's a strong sign that it is around the corner. Like, I do think that, you know, but just because they could have started production as early as last year, that doesn't mean that they'll come out at the end of this year. You look at how Nintendo has just shown this history of sitting on things. They might do that with hardware too. We saw that Metroid Prime Remaster was rated back in June of 2021. They were done with that game a year and a half ago. I'm going to venture to guess that Tears of the Kingdom has actually been done for a good while too. And we got a rating a few months ago, but I wouldn't be surprised if we were done with it even before then. And Fire Emblem Engage was rumored to be done for a long time, and they just kind of pooped out of nowhere. You know, last September, it comes out January. Now this is with games, not systems. This is a different scenario, and I think that I think that we're in a situation where we're starting to see Switch sales decline, and I think ideally Switch 2 does come out this holiday, because I think you're starting to run into a situation where Switch 2 Switch is like they're starting to lose momentum. PS5 is starting to outsell Switch, and I don't think Nintendo wants to go a whole year or a whole holiday not being the market leader anymore. Now, maybe they have no choice. Maybe they're not ready with software. Maybe they're not as far into manufacturing as this information suggests. But I think that if Nintendo can, from what we're seeing of sales and patterns trending downwards, they should come out with Switch 2 this year. Again, that does not mean Switch will become irrelevant. That does not mean they will stop selling Switch. But it does look like Switch sales are trending downwards. They haven't dropped the price yet, though. But they may not want to drop the price until Switch 2 comes. So that's just something else to kind of consider. Let's see here. I got a few super chats. One for Taker610. Will Nintendo keep pattern and announce it in July? What pattern would that be, Taker? Thank you for the super chat, by the way. But I'm trying to understand what pattern would be July, because they tend to have their E3 showcases in June. So I'm just confused about what you mean in July. Especially like even like when they've announced systems in the past. Do you mean like how Switch OLED announced in July? Do you mean like that? Oh, okay. Wait, hold on. I think I know what you mean now. Switch OLED announcement. That was in July 6th. To your point. And when was the Switch Lite announcement? It was in July. Yeah, honestly, that kind of fits. I kind of see that. I really do. And you know that's another interesting point to consider. Switch came out in 2017, Lite came out in 2019, OLED came out in 2021. 2023 could be the time for another system. There's a pattern. I could see July. I think that makes sense. Maybe they could have like a. Well, okay. I mean, they could do July, but they could also do like late June, right? Like to kind of like do a middle ground. It depends on what it is, right? Like if it's just like a smaller revision, having just a trailer drop in July makes sense. But if it is like a bigger event, where it's like a next gen system, they may need to have like more of a presentation. And it also could explain as to why Nintendo decided to skip E3. Not because they don't care about E3 anymore, as they said they still support the ESA, but just because their plans for this year are a little different. And those plans may include having a separate presentation where they showcase the system and they make announcements with games. Now, maybe they still have that direct before in June, and they have this announcement in July. I guess it just kind of depends on. It really just depends on their content plans, like what games will be on what system. If there's gonna be exclusive, if there's not gonna be. Do they really want to show? Well, I guess actually one cool thing is if they want to kind of, if they want to do a good job of showing that they're going to support the Switch for a long time, if they have a direct in June, let's say they have a direct in June and they tease Prime 4. They just give us a release year of 2024. They just say that. They show us the Xenoblade trailer, the Splatoon trailer, the Pokemon trailers for the DLC. They announce F-Zero and a Donkey Kong game to come out in the second half of the year. And they also announced a new Mario game to come out in the second half of this year. Then all of a sudden, like, whoa, that's like a good lineup, right, for the second half. And it's just like a really good direct. It's a strong direct. But they don't mention the Switch 2. But people will be like, oh, some of those games look really good. And then trailer pops up a week or two later. It's like a bigger trailer. It's like a big 4 to 5 minute trailer explaining what the system is. And they showcase games like, hey, look, so we announced all these games for Switch. They also are available for Switch 2, both systems. This is a premium system. We're dropping the price for the Switch and Lite model so you can get them at cheaper prices. But if you want to play with better frame rate, with 4K, with ray tracing, you can get that, or HDR, whatever it is, just whatever features they can fit into that. I think I saw HDR as something that they can do with the T39. But like they do that after they already announced all the games for this year. It sends a good message of they're supporting Switch, and if you're a Switch owner, you're getting all the games. that if you want the enhancements, if you want the premium version, you'll spend a little bit extra to get it. But you'll still have the core experience as a Switch owner for years to come. I can see that. Yeah. All right, so I got another super chat here from Casey. Thank you very much for the super chat, Casey. Casey says, think dev kits reported in 2021 for Pro really for Switch 2? What if? You know, it is an interesting point, because we did hear there were dev kits out there. Now, according to Nate the Hate and Modern Vintage Gamer on the Nate the Hate podcast, if I'm not mistaken, they've talked about how they had dev kits out for Switch Pro, but those plans were canned, and that's it. That they just kind of moved on. But I think they were kind of trying to speculate. I would have to get like word straight from them to really sort that out. But maybe that's what it was tied to. And supposedly we already know what the chip is. As I said earlier, the T239. I may make a video kind of focusing on what the graphics capabilities of the Switch 2 may be later on. Kind of focusing on that, detailing it, showing how it may look and improve the games and all that. Yeah, so for those that are kind of like throwing out the argument that, well, we haven't seen any sort of dev kits or chips, well, we may already know exactly what the chip is, and maybe those dev kits were for the next Switch and not a Switch Pro. We don't know that for a fact, but I at least think that there's some elements to the idea that, you know, they're going to be very careful about who finds out about dev kits and things like that being out there. They may be just doing a good job of containing that information, which is why we don't know about it yet. Not so much that, you know, like, we can't just assume everything's going to get leaked. And, you know, with the NVIDIA leak itself, that we kind of know what the chip is. I think there's definitely a chance that it could happen this year. I don't think that just because we haven't heard about dev kits recently, that doesn't mean it's not happening. Brian Doe, the dev kits have the new chip. It's so obvious. Are you saying that the dev kits that we heard have the T239? I mean, if that's the case, then there you go. I'll have to go back and look at what was heard. I didn't know we had that much detail on it. Does that say Carl? Origins may have been called Carl Sagan. Is it Carl Sagan that said that? Maybe. Maybe you're right. Charles Shadell, you think in July they announced it? Maybe you're right. And yeah, Tigger, I was able to figure out what you meant with that. It was the revisions of Light and OLED. Yeah, I definitely want to take a look at the dev kits that were reported a while back about Switch Pro. I want to take a look at that and see if that had anything to do with T239. But thank you again for the super chat, Brian. That might be something. And Dish Quick Pops added me. Playing Prime Remaster right now. Did you ever see a weird white outline around Samus when she has the Phazon suit? Yes, it's intentional. It's like a layer of protection against Phazon. That's an intentional cloak. She loses it once Metroid Prime pulls it off of her. Alright, you guys can continue to ask me about Switch 2, but I'm going to move on to the next topic here. So, I have a quote here from... This is an interview from the Associated Press. They had a Q&A with Doug Bowser, the president of Nintendo of America. You may have heard of him. There's a few different things here that he was asked that are interesting. So I'm gonna bring up a couple. This one's a little bit relevant to what we were just talking about. So they asked, when is the new Switch coming out? What kind of features or new capabilities would you like to see? Doug answers, as we enter the 7th year for the Nintendo Switch, sales are still strong. I think we still have a very strong lineup coming. As Mr. Furukawa said recently, we're entering uncharted territory with the platform. Oh, ads. That made me lose where I was at. It's exciting to see that demand is still there, so nothing to announce on any future console or device, but we're still feeling very bullish about Nintendo Switch. I should be careful about what I personally would like to see in a new Switch, but what I can share is that one of the reasons that even going into year 7 we feel very confident that the Switch can have a strong performance over the next few years is that it is still truly unique. It's still truly that unique device that you can play in a variety of ways at home, on the go. One of the things we look at always is how we can surprise and delight. How can we introduce new, unique ways of playing? That's always in front of our mind. So, can we take anything away from that? I mean, you could just chalk it up to very, stock kind of answer. You can't really tell us much. But you could also look at it from, hey, every time they present a new system, they do try to bring something new to the table. So we talk about, oh, Switch 2 is going to have better graphics and all of that. But is there something they can do that will be bringing something new to the table? And, I think maybe something that might be underestimated is that while they may think of some sort of quirky innovation, maybe it won't be anything quirky. When we talk about like the chip, the T239 and the Switch, I think the idea behind that is that it's gonna have DLSS and is it HDR that I think it's supposed to have? This would matter a lot. I want to just double check. 239 Switch. Let me see. There's something about it it's supposed to do well. Like Control F, the features. Nope, that doesn't tell me anything. Yeah, so I think the idea behind it is that maybe, is it ray tracing? I don't know. I haven't done too much research on this yet. I have this article here saying that it might be 10 times more powerful, which is interesting, but anyways, the point is, if this system has DLSS and some new technologies to rework the lighting effects and games run and look a lot sharper, maybe that's a good innovation in and of itself. Like maybe like just the idea that it can output games at higher visual fidelity with higher performance and minimal power draw, like that might be the innovation. Like, imagine if they can put out games that have a high frame rate, a clear resolution, whatever that is they target, portably and docked. But it's more importantly, portably, it has low power consumption. So it has a very strong battery life. What if they can tout a battery life that far surpasses a Switch? I think that's a lot. Like, I think what if they come out with a Switch that's very ergonomic? It's very ergonomic, so it'll be very comfortable, right? Very comfortable to hold. The Joy-Cons are reworked. They have better grooves on it, no drift. Maybe they have analog triggers. The battery life is great. It doesn't overheat. Like, maybe that's innovation. Like, maybe that it kind of just further improves on what the Switch is. It further improves its portability. Having a better battery life makes a big difference. Making it easier, more comfortable to hold for longer durations of play, that makes it easier. That facilitates its ability to be a portable system. With the DLSS support and the dock, maybe they can get closer to a true console experience when docked. So maybe the idea of Switch being a better home console experience and a better portable experience for Switch 2. Like, maybe that alone is, hey, we're bringing something new to the table because we're able to give you a system that's going to have better performance and it's going to have better battery life. And that's going to make your experiences better, and it's going to make it more portable, more comfortable, and allow you to do more. Maybe the Joy-Cons be reworked so they'll actually be fun to use with cooperative play, because I don't like using Joy-Cons separately. But maybe they'll rework the design a little bit, will be more comfortable, better to hold, and they will function better with co-op play when you use them side by side like that. Maybe it's simply just improving upon things makes it worth it, and that is their innovation. Like, maybe they don't have to reinvent the wheel every single time. Maybe they give us themes. That's not a big deal, but it would be fun. So, you know, I think that's maybe something that could be looked at. But anyway, the other part to the Q&A that I want to get to. Actually, before I will say, I'm still open to the idea of there being something kind of wacky that they add to the system, but it's kind of hard to sort of pin down, like, because it might be very random. But anyways, the question about Zelda. How did you get to a $70 price figure for the upcoming Zelda game? We look at what the game has to offer. I think fans will find this an incredibly full, deeply immersive experience. The price point reflects the type of experience that fans can expect when it comes to playing this particular game. This isn't a price point that we'll necessarily have on all our titles. It's actually a fairly common pricing model either here or in Europe or other parts of the world, where the pricing may vary depending on the game itself. And that is true. There are the pricing varies across the world in different markets, right? Some people have been paying higher prices for Nintendo games already for a bit, and then other companies have had higher prices as well. So that is something to note for me, because I'm gonna buy the game regardless. But you know, I personally don't really care to talk about is it okay or not. Like, I'm not saying you're wrong for feeling that way. You're entitled to feel however it is you feel, because the fact of the matter is, it's economics, it's business, right? Supply and demand. If you don't think it's worth it, you answer by not buying it. That you're telling Nintendo, hey, look, I'm not interested, don't buy it, right? Like, so if Tears of the Kingdom only sells 15 million copies, Nintendo may look at that and be like, maybe we shouldn't have made it fit $70, or maybe we should have marketed it more. Like, there's definitely things to consider there. So, you know, yeah. But anyways, the point I wanted to get to was that there is a part that he says that I really liked. He says, I think fans will find this is an incredibly full, deeply immersive experience. That sounds great. It truly does. It says a lot without saying anything at all. I guess why it's interesting is because, okay, cool. So it sounds like the implication is that once we know what this game has to offer, we won't feel upset about the pricing. But it goes back to what we were talking about at the beginning of the show. Why aren't you telling us what it has to offer? Why aren't you showcasing that this is an incredibly full, deeply immersive experience? And again, I don't need Nintendo to tell us everything. But I am kind of still waiting for that presentation where they're like, hey, here's just a taste of some of the new enemies in the world. Like, yes, they've showed us, but words saying that, like, literally, there hasn't been a lot of communication about Tears of the Kingdom. There hasn't been a lot of context provided for what we've seen. Like, yes, we can extrapolate from what we've seen, but we haven't been told too much. Like, they've been more communicative in the past about Zelda. They've been very quiet. Like, I want an interview with Aonuma about this game, about what they've shown, and I want something actually told to us about it. I don't like. I'm still waiting for confirmation that it's Ganondorf, right? Like, people are still speculating that it's Demise or someone else or not Ganondorf. Like, I believe it's Ganondorf. You know, if we were to put a vote, I think most people would say Ganondorf. Some people say Demise. Some people say it's just another form of Ganon or what have you. But I want confirmation on that. I want that's not really ruining the game. That's just telling me, okay, it's Ganon. Cool. All right. What's next? Like, I want them to kind of tell us that stuff. Like, when are we getting the explanation of this game? And we still haven't gotten that. We're less than 2 months out, and because the game is priced at $70, I think that, and because the game is a direct sequel, these elements exacerbate the silence. And I think if it wasn't a direct sequel, I think if it was just $60, people would still be freaking out. People would be like, well, what's this game about? You know, but at least, like, people would know, okay, this is a new Zelda game, and there would be less talk about it feeling samey. There would be less talk about it offering enough new content to warrant the price. But right now, because Nintendo hasn't done enough for everyone, for us diehard Zelda fans, yeah, we're all in regardless. But there's a lot of people out there that are arguing otherwise, that are on the fence about it, because Nintendo haven't really shown too much. But again, you know, we may get a direct in a week or two, or at the beginning of April, and then they'll give us that information that I'm asking for, and then all of a sudden, it's all done. They'll tell us to some extent without spoiling that this is an incredibly full, deeply immersive experience that will sell most people on the price tag. But I'm sure there's still going to be some people out of principle that won't do it. Like, some people just don't think that games should be bought at that price. There are some discount programs, like the Nintendo Voucher program. You can get 2 Nintendo games that way. So there are some things out there. I think Walmart stopped doing this, but for a while, Walmart was discounting Switch games by $10. So, you know, I would double check your local Walmarts. Yeah, so let me kind of check in with the chat here. That was, I think that was the article I was looking at. I'll read it out loud here. Reputedly, the Tegra 2 T239 will contain 2048 CUDA cores, up from 256 cores Tegra X1. Tegra 2 T239 should deliver 4 teraflops, a 10 times increase on the Switch's current 0.4 teraflop output. Sounds significant. Sounds like a big jump. Yeah. Sounds like a big jump. I'm wondering if one of you guys knows what I was referring to with the other feature beyond DLSS from the T239. I think it was ray tracing or HDR, something like one of those two. My brain's kind of confusing them. I gotta double check. When I make the video talk about the graphics with Switch, I will do more research. I don't think Sweet Life Dio Brando, Nintendo might go down remaster route if Switch 2 lacks backwards compatibility. I don't think they're gonna lack backwards compatibility, but definitely, you know, similar to how Switch had a lot of Wii U enhancement port remaster things, they would have to do something like that. But I don't think I think there's gonna be backwards compatibility. I think they kind of have to because of how prominent the audience is on Switch and how active it is. NetWeedo 9. Chip technology has jumped massively in the past 6 years. With Nintendo's newfound money, a significant power increase is almost child's play. Yeah, I agree, but it also comes down to Nintendo wanting to put it out at a reasonable price. Riley Haynes, do we think that 4K is feasible with the Tegra T239? Yeah, I do. I'm not going to pretend to be a super savvy tech head, but the idea is that it's an NVIDIA chip made with DLSS capabilities. and that, yeah, like totally, it could do 4K. They'll be able to do that. DLSS will guarantee that some games will be running at that. Now, it's not like true 4K, but it's an AI that makes it look pretty comparable. It'll look really good, and it'll require minimal performance, so it's gonna be feasible. Of course, you know Nintendo, right? They might skimp on something. It's like, oh, let's cut off the RAM to save on $20. Tony the Expert. Switch first made a video on a questionable leak rumor saying AI will be the focus on the Switch 2 beyond DLSS. What do you mean by like another AI enhancement visually, or are we talking about like something else? Like, is it gonna run your house or your car? Like, I'm curious. There are other visual AI enhancers, upscalers. AI upscaling is what it's called. It's the concept behind it is it uses a computer that kind of is able to extrapolate like what an image would look like at a higher resolution without actually giving the full data of that. So, and they can be pretty good at that. Sweet Life of Dear Brown. I do not think we will get a 4K handheld yet. So, it will, I mean, to clarify, right? When we talk about 4K, 4K when docked. It's not going to be 4K portably. There's no need. There's not even arguably a need to do 1080p. They can just do 720. I still think that the Switch 2 is going to have the same screen that the OLED has. It's going to be an OLED screen that's 720p. I think it's going to be the exact same screen. So, you know, portably, it's going to be probably just 720p. I'm not even expecting 1080. Could they do 1080? Yeah, but it would require buying new screens. I think that they might use the same screens as the OLED, but we'll see on that one. It'll keep pricing down. And when you account for pixel density, I think that matters. But 720p, 60 frames per second, with the vibrant colors of an OLED, portably, I think is going to be really good. And because of DLSS, they can maybe target like 540p or whatever, or 480, whatever they can do. Scales up to 720p portably. And by doing that, they can ensure it would require, they can, if they run it at a lower resolution, but with DLSS go up to 720p portably, they can then also have lower power consumption potentially, right? Like, so maybe like the battery life wouldn't be as impacted as much, and they could guarantee maybe 60 frames per second. So it would still look good, still look sharp as it can for a 720p screen, but minimal battery consumption and, you know, just 60 frames per second. So, Tony the Expert, you're saying there was ray tracing that the Tegra 239 could have, right? So imagine that the graphics enhancement patches that Switch games could get would be, okay, upscale to 4K, 60 FPS if it doesn't run there already, HDR and ray tracing. Like, they just put that all in there, and that's like the big bumps. Like, imagine Tears of the Kingdom now, but then 4K 60 FPS ray tracing HDR. I don't even understand fully what that all means, but that would be just, it would just look good. I know that that would impact the lighting and the sharpness and the textures, and obviously I know what frame rate is and how smooth it'll look and run. Like, that would, it'll look good. Yeah, I like what Electric Gigolo is saying here. It'll be 4K DLSS docked and likely 720p handheld, but it'll still use downsampling to almost eliminate anti-aliasing. That sounds nice. Or, well, aliasing, right? So, anti-aliasing is good, aliasing is bad. aliasing is kind of from what I understand of it. And again, I'm not a big tech expert here, but it's kind of like when you're playing a game and you see kind of like the fuzzily pixelated lines around a character or an environment. That's aliasing. Anti-aliasing smooths that out. All right, so let's move on to the next topic. You guys can still talk about whatever you want in the chat, and I'll come back to that stuff. But we just touched on the Tears of the Kingdom situation. I want to talk a little bit about Mario Kart DLC and the Nintendo Cinematic Universe. Let's talk about the Nintendo Cinematic Universe first, and I'll touch on the Mario Kart stuff, and then we'll close out with a little bit more Q&A. All right, so the Mario Kart situation. See, I'm jumping between them. Let's do the Nintendo Cinematic Universe first. All right, so with that one, basically there was an interview with Fandango that include the cast for the Mario Bros. Movie. The 5 of them, most of the important cast except for Anya Taylor-Joy, the voice of Peach. So you had Chris Pratt as Mario, you had Charlie Day as Luigi, you had Seth Rogen as Donkey Kong, you had Keegan-Michael Key as Toad, and you have Jack Black as Bowser. They were all there together. Great panel, awesome. I enjoyed the interview. It was a good watch, and throughout the interview, there was like a 17-minute interview. They were joking around, having a good time, but there was a couple times where they said some things about the movie that they were like, "Oh, maybe we shouldn't have said that. We're not sure." Like they were kind of tiptoeing around what they were supposed to be saying, and there was a point where Chris talks about how they make this reference to Punch-Out in the movie. And he was talking about how it feels like they were hinting at a Nintendo Cinematic Universe. And that's basically it. But there's like this discussion there kind of saying, oh yeah, they could be like a cinematic universe, right? And when you think about how, yeah, we have seen Yoshi's Island and we've seen Donkey Kong in the movie, and we've seen Luigi's Mansion references. What else is there, right? And we've gotten these reports from Giant Freaking Robot that both a Zelda and Donkey Kong movie are in production. Is that true? We're not sure. It's under rumor territory, but it makes sense. Nintendo did create the Nintendo Picture Studio. They have an agreement with Universal. Within their master plan, they talked about they want to expand their IP to visual products, and that includes movies. And we've gotten the Mario movie, and this looks to be very successful. So it doesn't take much of a logical leap to think, okay, there will be more Nintendo movies in the future. Now, when I say cinematic universe, does that mean they will be interconnected story-wise, where they'll be locked down, maybe affects the plot, and potentially we can't, like, maybe we could lead to, like, a Smash Bros. Epic at some point? I think that's in the cards, but I also don't think they have to, like, hold themselves to that. Like, I don't think that you're gonna need to, like, watch every single Mario movie, every single Zelda movie, every single Luigi's Mansion movie to understand this bigger story of Smash Brothers Avengers or something like how it is for the Marvel thing. But I think that maybe what can happen is you could have these different movies that focus on these different characters, like a Mario movie, a Zelda movie, a Donkey Kong movie, and there could be a point where they have a Smash Bros movie that brings all these other characters into a world. They get portaled in, they get sent a Smash letter, and it has its own story. And it does use the characters, and those characters can make references to their own stories, but it doesn't have to be like where each movie can still be standalone, can still function as a standalone series, and you could still have like a Smashverse, like that can still all happen. And I think it could be done in a way where it doesn't have to ruin or lock them down, like how it sort of is in the Marvel universe. It can be a little bit more open in that way. Looking through the chat here. I see you guys are... AB James, you're saying Chris Pratt seemed like he didn't really want to be there, though. Huh. I don't know, maybe I'm just more gullible. I thought he was fine. Raw Powell. A MCU would be neat so long as they don't make the same mistakes as DC made and rush everything. No, I think they gotta take their time. And I don't think they're totally gonna rush there. I think they're gonna take their time. You know, I don't think we're going to see multiple movies a year or anything like that. Not, at least not for a long time. They would have to build up a lot of studios and establish a good cycle. But I think once this Mario movie does well, they will start to kind of speed up that process. Maybe they get another studio down, and they start having a movie every 3 years or every 2 years. Before you know it, maybe it does become an annual thing, whereas another Nintendo movie. And could it become even more common than that? We'll see, but I think we're years away from that happening. Brian Doe, there will be a Breath of the Wild Tears of the Kingdom combo release special edition released for the new Switch. Praying. With the visual upgrades, that might be kind of fun, actually. Let's see here. Jim Kulis. Giant Figure Robot isn't a credible source, but I could definitely see a Nintendo Cinematic Universe happening in some form. Yeah, I'm not trying to say I 100% trust Giant Freaking Robot. Whenever I've made a video, I've always said that the record seems spotty, but they claim to get a lot correct. And when you look at it, they've gone a lot correct, but there's been information out there saying that they've gone a lot wrong too. So, I take it with a grain of salt. But regardless, it makes sense for there to be a Zelda movie. And Donkey Kong doesn't seem like a big stretch either, because they're having this huge expansion to the park, and Donkey Kong's a big influence in the movie. So these things they seem predictable. Joy CJ, Chris has gotten so much unnecessary hate, they probably told him to fall back. Yeah, I'm not sure. I honestly think he's done pretty good. I think the latest trailer, like, I didn't even realize it was Chris Pratt. Like, it sounded like Mario to me. I think he's... Whatever the voice is, I think it's actually good. We'll see once we hear the whole movie from beginning to end, but I feel better about Mario's voice than I do about Donkey Kong right now. And I'm not going to 100% doubt Seth Rogen as Donkey Kong. I think there's a chance that can work out, but I'm thinking I need a little bit more time with that one too. There's a little bit of a smaller sample size there. Jim Kulis, I hope that if there's a Zelda movie, it's made by Studio Ghibli. My goodness, I hope that too, like, because I think that would be the best. I don't know if that will garner as much sales and success as what they're doing with Illumination, but it would be amazing. I mean, like, truth be told, what I would want, I would love for them to do a Studio Ghibli style Zelda movie, but I would want them to market it and put it in theaters as heavily as they're doing with Mario. The problem with that is that anime movies don't perform like Western Hollywood movies, right? That's kind of the reason why I don't think they're gonna go with someone like Studio Ghibli, just because they probably want the Zelda movie to pop off. And I'm not saying people wouldn't enjoy the Studio Ghibli film, but it doesn't seem like it would be nearly as successful as what this Mario movie is about to be. And I think they want that for Zelda. So I mean, if there's a way to do both, do both. Be super successful and still make it like that. That's another challenge with doing a Zelda movie. Link has got to talk. And last week I talked about, hey, look, how do you guys feel about Link talking in Tears of the Kingdom? And it was 50-50 basically. Half and half. Half of you guys did not like the idea of Link talking in the game. But, if you want to get a Zelda movie, like a legit Zelda movie, Link needs to talk. And they're going to have to start to break down those barriers at some point or another. So, if maybe people just want it to be where he talks in the movies but not the game, I guess. But I think it's one of those things where when it happens, people are going to be upset about it. People are going to challenge it, no matter what. No matter how good the voice actor is, no matter how good of a fit it is, for the game or the movie. There are a lot of people who hate Zelda's voice. I think Zelda's voice is great. I think they did a great job. Electro Gigolo. But is Zelda going to have a lot of humor like Mario? How will they approach it? They need to be very careful with it. I think it can have humor, but I also think it's got to have a little bit more of a serious tone. Like I think it's got to be more of an epic. So it would be disappointing to see if they don't do that. Yeah. Kukula. It's great in Japanese. The Mario movie or Breath of the Wild? I do like listening to Breath of the Wild in Japanese too. I think it's great in Japanese. But I have no problem with the English cast either. Although I actually would have been totally okay if they had filmed Breath of the Wild in Hylian, where they just spoke in its own language, kind of like what they do in Metroid Dread, how they speak Chozo. I love that. I don't need there to be voice acting for a language I speak. I just want to hear voices. I want to hear a believable language, and that's it. And that could even be a made-up language, which arguably is cheaper, because that way, if you have one made-up language, you don't have to do like 10 different languages. It works beautifully for a game. Granted, you have to come up with a language, which isn't easy, but you know, it worked in Metroid Dread really well. No, not as many cutscenes, but it was really good. Anonymous. Link will be mute and communicate by writing emojis on a Sheikah slate. Solved. That would be funny, but like that might be a good gag, but I think we need to talk. Joe Manford. I'm not a fan of Gandora's voice in Tears of the Kingdom. Didn't sound nearly menacingly enough. Yeah, I hear what you're saying there. When the first couple lines of dialogue, I was skeptical, but then after I kind of gave it a little bit of time, I was like, oh, this is pretty good. So, you know, I want to hear more of it before I truly judge. But I wasn't sold immediately either. Right, Eon's Highland is a made-up fictional language similar to the Navi from Avatar and whatever the Minecraft languages are. And Lord of the Rings has some made-up languages. Like, I think made-up languages would be great. They have a lot of made-up text and alphabets. They could have done a whole language. Robert Powell, I agree. I wasn't into Ganon's voice. Sounded like someone trying to sound evil. Yeah. I get where you guys are coming from. I guess when it comes to voice acting, I'm more prepared to give it more time for me to warm up to it. Because most of the time when I hear voices of a character for the first time, I'm like, oh, that's not how I thought it would sound. But sometimes they just need more time to kind of settle into it, see it in more scenarios and see how it fits. And then I can kind of believe it a little bit more. Anonymous, I know you were joking. A funny thing is, though, if they were to make a Zelda movie, I could see them doing a skit where Link is mute, but just for like a scene, or like like maybe scene not even in the movie, kind of like the Mario and Luigi plumbing commercial, like something like that where Link doesn't talk, but it would just be a skit for that. He actually does talk in the movie. All right, last topic. No, we'll still do some Q&A, but so we got that Mario Kart DLC. You may have noticed Mario Kart. I have all in the background. And what's neat is, let's see here. I just have it on back here. So that's not 1-to-1. Neither is that. Yeah, that's some delay, but I can still see it. When you go to, I'm not gonna play right now, but I just like, I should pick 250cc. Like, you go back to, you'll see, right? There are 5 new character slots. So what's neat about that is that With this DLC update, they just confirmed they're gonna add 5 more characters. Who are those characters are going to be? I put out a predictions video last week, and I felt pretty good on my predictions. But you guys provided some feedback, and I see where people are coming from with the predictions. It seems like there's an overall agreement that Diddy Kong should come, and Kamek and Pauline are good fits. PD Piranha, people seem to be pretty okay with too. So like 4 of my 5 predictions, everyone seems to be sort of confident with. But I said Dixie Kong. People were like, no, not Dixie. You gotta put Funky. And I forgot, honestly, how popular Funky Kong was back on Mario Kart Wii. I remember now. When I picked Dixie, I was thinking from the perspective of who's a more relevant character overall, not necessarily to Mario Kart, but to reality and to a potential Donkey Kong game. Dixie Kong. Like, Dixie Kong's playable in Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze, for example. Diddy and Dixie Kong are a pair that have worked together in the past. Dixie Kong was almost added to Smash Bros. Once upon a time. It may still get added in the future. Like, if we're talking about the 3rd most important Kong, it's probably Dixie. Although Cranky Kong is more important, but in terms of like, I mean, those are the top 4. Donkey Kong, obviously. Then you got Diddy, number 2 for sure. And then Cranky and Dixie are 3 and 4. So yeah. So that's why I kind of went with Dixie as like that 5th option. Because I'm also speculating that there's gonna be a Donkey Kong game that comes out this year, and they're going to have a wave that gives us a couple Donkey Kong characters in Mario Kart as cross promotion for a Donkey Kong game later this year, which also works in tandem with the Donkey Kong stuff from the Mario movie. I think this might be the year we get a Donkey Kong game, and I still think it happen next year too. But I don't know. Like I think we got a lot of open slots for the second half, and I believe the report. I believe that Donkey Kong is real and coming. You know, just gotta be patient, right? Like, remember how we said we gotta be patient about Metroid Prime. We got Metroid Prime. You know, they just gotta be patient with Donkey Kong. So, but I think there's a good chance it's this year. So, you know, there's a little bit of that there. That said, I'll throw out another angle, and I don't know if I'll make a video on this on there. I'm debating, but there's even though they told us that they're gonna add characters based off past Mario Kart games, they continue to go a little bit above and beyond what they've told us. Like, they told us, hey, we're gonna give you DLC based off past Mario Kart tracks. But what that has meant, what is, yes, tour tracks, a lot of them, but also some brand new tracks. They've legitimately given us some brand new tracks, some good ones. So who's to say that when they tell us they're going to give us past Mario Kart characters, that at least one of them doesn't end up actually being a brand new character? And there's a couple characters I could think they could be brand new. Like, what if they were to add Zelda, like Princess Zelda, and that's cross promotion for Tears of the Kingdom? That would be cool. Playable Zelda. I'd be in love with that idea. That'd be great, right? Some people are throwing out the idea of Rob. Rob would be really cool. I'd like to see Rob in there. Or maybe someone else, maybe Kirby or Captain Falcon. Like, those are also cool options. And I don't think those will all be the DLC characters for Mario Kart. I think they're actually add Mario Kart characters. But Diddy Kong, out of all of them, I think Diddy Kong makes the most sense. And I'm pulling for PD Piranha, but I think Pauline has a good chance too. Per DXLM Derm, a new DK in Mario Kart would be an alternate skin, though. It wouldn't use a new character slot. Well, Funky Kong's technically a different person or a different character. He's not another Donkey Kong. That said, would I be upset if they turned Donkey Kong into like if they gave him a costume slot and Funky Kong was in there? No, I'd be okay with that. I'd be totally okay with that. And you know what? I'll even throw out that if they were to do that, You know, it'd be cool. Hear me out, right? So what if like they add that for Donkey Kong, right? Like what if they just add three? They add Funky Kong, Diddy Kong, and Dixie Kong, all three, to hype up the movie and all. And what they do is, yeah, for Donkey Kong, they give him an alternate skin, but the alternate skin is literally Funky Kong, a whole other character. But it's Mario Kart, so the characters don't matter that much in terms of stats and stuff. It would fine. They're about the same size. And then for Diddy Kong, Dixie Kong's about the same size too. So they could add Diddy Kong, and then Dixie Kong could be a part of that too. So in theory, they could add 3 Kongs and only take up one of those 5 spots, which would be great because that would just be more Mario Kart characters. Like I'm all about that. If they want to do that, go for it, right? Like Birdo has 8 skins, so why not? Well, I'd be really happy with that. Having Hope 5, you would love to see Zelda and Mario Kart. It would be fun. And maybe with the Tears of the Kingdom track, they could give us a Tears of the Kingdom track. Imagine a Tears of the Kingdom track where we're flying through the Sky Islands, but there's times where we rocket down below, and there's like a mouse explosion, and there's all these golden skies. Like they could give us a really cool, over the top Tears of the Kingdom themed Mario Kart track. That would be really cool. That we don't mind. Birdo was so good, really liked that. Zelda or Plessie really should be next. Yeah. Electric Gigolo. Will there be a playable Zelda in Tears? I wonder if that's the reason why they aren't showing more of the game. Are they going to pull an MGS2 on us? By the way, we are closing out the stream soon, guys. So if you any final questions or anything, please put them out now. We're gonna close out in a few minutes. Let's see here. But yeah, back to your question, Electro Gigolo. MGS2, is that Metal Gear Solid 2? I'm unfamiliar with what they did, but through context clues, I can figure they added another surprise character, right? MGS2. What was it? Playable character. Who was playable there? I'm kind of curious. Tuxedo Snakes and Ocelot, as well as Meryl Silverbird. Oh, okay. Okay. I kind of have a suspicion. I kind of have a suspicion that there's something about Zelda that they are holding back from us. I do think there's a chance that Zelda is playable. I don't know. I want to point out that if she's playable, I don't think she's playable in the same sense as Link is. I don't think like you can start the game like, oh, I pick Link or Zelda. I don't think that, because Zelda's not a fighter. She's not a warrior. She doesn't know how to wield a sword. She's not like physically strong. That's not what she is. She's a scholar and maybe a mage, like because of her goddess powers. Like she has abilities. Don't get me wrong, but she's not Link. She's not Link who's gonna be, brawling with bokoblins and slashing things and jumping off cliffs and all of that and roughing and tussling around. Like that's not who she is. She's a princess, and kind of like in a semi cliche way. She's not a Amazonian warrior princess, which would be cool, but that's not what Zelda is. But could Zelda have some moments of gameplay where they bring it back to Sheikah Slate and they use it in unique ways with Zelda, where you have limited combat options for certain spurts to open up options for Link, and you can go back and forth between Link and Zelda? I could see something like that where she's briefly playable, or as some people suggested, maybe like a new game plus, or like a side mode, or a second quest you unlock afterwards where you kind of explore as Zelda in a different way. Like I think those are possibilities. I think the focus for Tears of the Kingdom has to be the open exploration though. So all these different ideas of making Zelda playable, I think they potentially take away from that open exploration. So that's why I'm not totally committed to the idea of her being playable. But I could see us. I do feel like she's gonna have an active role throughout the story. I think she's gonna be a prominent character. I don't think she's just gonna be someone that's gonna be hidden away throughout for the whole game. So that I feel good at least saying that. But there's depending on how they do it, I think they can make it cool with her being playable. Because I do see it part. I mean, I talked about my video that came out on Saturday, right? So if you guys missed that video, check it out. We talk about how Zelda could be playable. And there's a shot in the trailer where we see the underground. We see some metal boxes. We don't see Link explore that area with Zelda falling down a hole. Maybe she explores those areas. Maybe she can move around those metal boxes with the Sheikah Slate that we seem to have from the art that Nintendo officially released. Maybe there's something to that idea. Samuel A. Thank you very much for the super chat, Samuel. Super appreciated. Do you think the Xenoblade 3 DLC will be bigger than Torna? It has more dev time, I think, 1.5 years roughly. Interesting point. Well, let's look at release timings real quick here. So Xenoblade 2 came out December, right, of 2017, and Torna came out what, like July or September of came out September 2018. So it had like a 9-month window. There's a 9-month gap between. Yeah, there was a 9-month gap between Xenoblade 2 and Torna the Golden Country. Xenoblade 3 came out July, right? I'm gonna double check that. I'm pretty sure. It's been a while already, hasn't it? Came out late July, right? So Xenoblade 3 came out late July. So you got August, September, October, November, December, January, February. We're in the middle of March now. It's not gonna come out April. Then you got May. Probably not coming out June either. I mean, so we're looking at least, I would say we're looking at maybe 3 months of extra development time. I'm guessing it comes out late summer to early fall. So yeah, a slightly longer development cycle looks like. I don't think we're gonna have to wait till like November, but maybe like August, September, potentially even July. But somewhere between July and September, I think Wave 4 comes out, which gives us about 3-ish months more time. You know, so that's 3 months more time, right? Torna was 9 months versus a year. Like that's a gap. That's a bigger gap. Bigger gap like that. I think that suggests that you know, I mean, it could end up being longer than a year, right? It could end up being like you know, like I said, if it's September, that's what, 14 more months or 13 more months, because it came out the end of July, right? So it's almost like the beginning of early September. But yeah, I think that I don't want to say for sure it's gonna be bigger, but I think at the very least it's going to be about the same size. And considering the extra development time, I think it has a chance to be a bit bigger. Yeah. Which obviously that bodes well for it. And yeah, I'm going to say yes. I'm going to say it's going to be a little bigger. But, you know, Torna was pretty big. It also feels like the Xenoblade 3 DLC is a little bit more of a celebration of the series. So I think with that, maybe they should put a little bit more into it. Davis, you think the DLC is already done, to be honest? They have English voice acting already. It may be done. That may be. That doesn't mean it won't be bigger, though. Robert Powell. It seemed like a waste not to have it be fairly beefy since we got Shulk, Chaosaurus Rex, and what seems to be a version of Vandom. Yeah, like they got some hype characters in there. You know, I would say it's a lot more exciting than Torna, I would argue. So yeah, and I agree with you guys. I do think that thinking more on it, like I think it probably should be bigger. I don't know how much. It's hard to quantify, right? But I think it's gonna be a big deal. Yeah. Anyways, I think we're pretty much done with the stream tonight. It was a good, fun stream, guys. You know, Nishwick Pops, I saw your chat earlier. I don't know if you're still watching. I don't know if I said it out loud, but you said Metal Gear Solid 2 marketing can't be done in this modern age. Snake wasn't the main character. Interesting. Yeah, I don't know how they'll... Yeah, it would be nuts if Link isn't even playable until later and Zelda is playable. That would be nuts. I doubt that. Now I'm seeing your chat, Electro Gigolo, about what if you can switch between Link and Zelda like GTA 5. I didn't play GTA 5. I'm not a GTA fan actually. I've played GTA games. They never really kind of gave me much. But we've seen Link have the ability to switch between characters in Wind Waker, so it wouldn't be something entirely new to the series. So I think now granted it was only for a dungeon, not the whole map, but maybe. It's like, imagine if Link and Zelda explored Hyrule together, like a la God of War style, where you have Kratos and the sun running around the map. Like, that would be really interesting. And Zelda's not a game about isolation per se, so like, it would be, it wouldn't, I don't think having Zelda with Link would ruin the sense of adventure. Now, if you have to be worried about protecting and helping her, then yeah, it would. Divas, we're done with the stream. We haven't even talked about Monolith's new IP showing off the Switch 2 capabilities yet. Well, I'm saving that. Honestly, I'm saving that video topic for a slow news week because it's a big one, and I think we have a lot. I do think that's happening. Well, I don't know if it's going to be what's going to show off the new system, but I do think that we're going to see that new IP on the next Switch, and it's going to come out relatively early to system's life cycle. I think it's going to be a big system. I wouldn't be shocked if it's one of the first exclusives for the system, which might mean a couple years down the road, because I don't think they'll put exclusives immediately. But yeah, I do think Monolith Soft's new IP is going to be on Switch 2. I think it's gonna be a big deal. It could still come out for Switch. I don't know. Yeah. I've been speculating it's an MMO or something MMO like. All right. Well, with that said, guys, thank you so much for coming by. If you guys could like the stream, if you're new here, please subscribe. Help me get 25,000 by the time Tears of the Kingdom releases May 12th. But I'll be seeing you all really soon. Unless there's something crazy that happens in the news tomorrow, there may be a Metroid video tomorrow. So stay tuned. If not, it'll come out later this week, and then we'll focus on the news. But yes, have a good night, everyone. Take care. Bye.